This morning's New York Times story about Manafort follows Trump repeatedly attacking the media over the weekend, focusing in on the Times.
The newspaper's going to hell. They've got a couple of reporters in that newspaper who are so bad, lack of talent, but it's going to hell. So I think maybe what we'll do, maybe we'll start thinking about taking their press credentials away from them. You know?
An editorial in this morning's Wall Street Journal says, quote, Mr. Trump is right that most of the media want him to lose, but then that was also true of George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, and Ronald Reagan. It's true of every Republican presidential nominee. The difference is that Mr. Trump has made it so easy for the media and his opponents. He needs to stop blaming everyone else and decide if he wants to behave like someone who wants to be president or turn the nomination over to Mike Pence.
Wow. Mark Leibovich is a CBS News political contributor. He's also chief national correspondent for the New York Times Magazine. He joins us at the table. Good morning.
Hi, Charlie.
What do you make of all this?
Well, I mean, there is a classic Republican playbook aspect of this, which is Republicans attacking the media, thinking that they are all against him. The thing about Trump is it's not background noise. It's actually, he's leading with this. He seemed to spend all day yesterday tweeting about how awful the media is. I mean, very precisely going after our paper, whatever paper, ticks him off.
And that your paper also had a story on Sunday about how they try, his people around him, including his family, are trying to get him to stay on message.
Yeah, Never good when they use the word Mark sullen to describe the candidate.
Sullen is a bad word. This is a story we've been hearing for several weeks, almost months now. The sort of non-existent Trump pivot has not really come to pass. And look, it does sort of fit a narrative of not loserdom, but certainly a campaign that is spiraling. And for someone whose brand has been so predicated on I'm winning, we need to win more, it's not a good look.
But you have an impression that the people around him know this and that and he agrees, and then he goes off and
yeah, it's unclear what he
again and again.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of people around him. That's the thing. I mean, he has his family. He has sort of a core of enablers, and it seems like the people he listens to very closely are those who say, "Let's let Trump be Trump." And Corey Lewandowski, sort of his former campaign manager, got a lot of mileage off of doing that. And Trump, believes that if he is just as unplugged as he can be all the time, there is an audience for it. I think the problem is it's getting a little bit tired. I mean, not just for the party officials and people around him, but for people who are viewing this, because he's not really discharging a lot of new sort of information about himself that can help people learn that this is someone who they could conceive as their president.
But he has a big opportunity today, where he said, he has a big speech coming up in Ohio. A chance for him to pivot, they say. Yeah,
the speech is on foreign policy. I mean, he is going to reiterate some of his themes. I think that a lot of people will be talking about the Paul Manafort story. A lot of people will be talking about, any Republicans that might defect this week. I mean, there has been this vicious cycle of distraction that you can almost count on it day to day. And one of the things you hear over and over again from Republicans is he needs to focus on Hillary Clinton. He needs to talk about what he's going to do. This noise just overtakes everything, and it becomes, its own entity.
Well, from some of the reporting we've seen on what Mr. Trump plans to talk about with his terrorism platform, it's a lot of what we've already heard, but specifically focusing in on immigration and terrorism, mixing those two topics. But in some ways, I mean, has any of the reporting to this point spoken to his policies and backed them up?
Well, I mean, what he hasn't provided is a lot of specifics. I mean, we know that he wants to build a wall, that he wants to, I guess what his speech today, from what we can tell going forward, looking ahead to it, is that it's going to be a crackdown on immigration from countries that there is terrorism that we think might be going on, where there's not
proper
proper
security. But that already exists.
It already exists, and it's also, how does that all going to work? So, I mean, again, the details aren't really there.
What do you make of the Manafort story?
Well, it's another part of the kind of web of intrigue around Russia, around Trump's perhaps close ties to the Kremlin. It looks kind of shady. I mean, anytime you have $12.7 million.
But do we think Trump has close ties to the Kremlin? What you just said?
Close ties might be a little strong. I would say this. I think there is a lot of certainly fondness, a lot of interest, his praise for Vladimir Putin, his top campaign aide having these relationships. I mean, it's all part of the thing that the Clinton campaign can certainly make a lot of hay out of.
And it's a split from the traditional Republican position.
Absolutely.
Most of his fellow party mates on Russia.
And the
Yeah,
reports are
including Mitt Romney.
Exactly.
Remember?
Right.
the reports are that the money was designated for Paul Manafort, but he has said very clearly that he did not receive that money.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds a little parsy. Who knows,
Yeah.
what that really means. So.
Yeah, the optics are tough on that one.
It is. It's just, look, it's complicated. It's also, it's a distraction. They don't need more distractions.
All right.
I would
Thank you,
say.
Mark Leibovich.
Thank you all.
Did you have a good vacation?
I had a great vacation.
Welcome back.
I think I'm trying to get off vacation. A little slowly.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Yes.
Glad you came back to us.